So how did Obsidian do?
Obsidian does how Obsidian do. That game is really well written and kind of broken.
But so was as we've
right.
gone over
But
repeatedly,
I don't know. I don't know
pretty...
that you can necessarily pin it, and not that it matters. I mean, people shouldn't have to go out and buy broken games. It kind of doesn't matter whose fault it is. But they're working on an engine that is well known for being fucked. So
that's true.
That's the code name of that engine, right?
Right.
Fucked.
The fucked engine.
2.3.
Try to license that.
All right. We're licensing the fucked engine for get some middleware here. A speed tree.
Did you toggle the lock it up button? Did you? Because it's an option now.
It's set to on. I mean, if you want to license,
and you can uncheck it, but it's still actually
still
on.
kinda,
we recommend you keep it on for most of this.
Yeah,
it's always good to have a
work lot
reboot.
better.
Yeah.
These games are long. We want to give people good hard stops to get up and reassess their lives, which is what I did every time the game crashed.
So that's crazy. Like that's a level of busted that Fallout 3 was not.
The locking up?
Well, I mean, the frequency with it, it sounds like you were
probably
experiencing...
locked up about like 10 times, 12 times, something like that over the course.
That's a lot.
Over the course of about 36, 38 hours.
Which
That's a lot.
It sounds like you were doing kind of consecutive, right? Like you were playing that game.
Yes, yeah. It's definitely, yeah. By the end of the first day, after I had played it for about 12 hours straight, it started running real bad. And I thought, oh, well, maybe it's just a memory leak. Like it doesn't, it's not going to run well for 12 hours straight. And then restarted it and it was still just as bad. Like it kind of just degrades over time. Like the load times get longer. The game kind of hitches up in really weird ways. The frame rate gets a little worse in spots. Yet I think you should play Fallout New Vegas. That's the worst
and
part.
That's a telling thing.
Yeah, the story is really great. The characters are awesome. Largely the game is identical to Fallout 3 in how you play it, but they've made some smart additions to how you deal with companions, and there's options in there for additional crafting stuff and weapon mods, which I didn't really find to be all that key to the experience, but they are there.
Still same things like encumbrance and weight limits and stuff like that.
If you're encumbered, you can't fast travel. There's a perk for that. There's a perk for you can fast travel while holding too much stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And just make it back to your limp
God,
back to your drawers. Do you get? I don't want to talk too much about the story.
All you got to do then is fast travel back to your house and dump the stuff.
Yeah.
If you have a house.
So like I don't want to get too much into the story stuff because that's clearly like the meat here. That's what's compelling. But do they kind of establish a different tone from Fallout 3 or?
Yeah, because the UI is amber instead of green.
Yeah,
I'm sure you can change your customization.
Don't worry. You can still set it to blue, and everything will be okay.
But it defaults to amber.
Yeah, I left.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, green was the color of Fallout 3.
Yeah,
that was what you played Fallout 3, and it was in green.
And you play New Vegas in amber.
I will totally play that in amber. That's awesome.
Yep.
I switched it to blue before even starting the game.
Something about an amber monochrome just says country and western to me. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I mean, totally, it's a very different story. The nature of who your character is as a courier. I mean, the game opens with you getting shot in the head.
It's West Coast shit, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Dumping bodies in the desert.
That's right. Bodies getting buried in the desert.
No more of this politics.
It's kind of cool because they're going through the opening kind of speech and stuff, and you see a guy getting buried in the desert. It's like, oh, so it's just like old Vegas, and then it's like, oh, by the way, that's fucking you. Oh God. But you don't die. Obviously, pretty short game.
Does it reference the first one at all, like in any kind of timeline?
Like Fallout 3?
Yeah, Fallout 3. Sorry,
no.
So there's no kind
not
of
that I found. There might be some loose.
Did they
occasionally talk about one of the loading screens that mentions like the Enclave hasn't really been seen out west for a while. It's presumed they went back east.
It takes place after. Or is it just?
I did not work out the timeline. It didn't really.
I'm just starting to wonder with all the Fallouts.
It's like 2281.
Oh sure. Let me check my timeline.
Yeah. So
I think that's pretty close to Fallout 3.
Yeah, I think
it was like
it's right
late
around
2270s.
What do we know? Any idea off the head, like what the time difference is between like the first Fallouts and 3?
No idea.
A lot.
I'm pretty sure 3 is supposed to be like 100 something years.
Yeah, it's a long.
After.
It's a good chunk of time.
So I'm just starting to wonder with Fallout 1, 2, and 3 the way those stories went with kind of like bringing life back in this post-apocalyptic world. Are things getting better? Like it seems like
so
at some point,
New
like
Vegas is a slightly different situation because, as it turns out, the Strip didn't necessarily get directly hit with missiles.
I don't think that area in general of the country wasn't really that hard hit, right?
so you're not just walking around
and you find out why over the course of the game.
Wow. People like to gamble,
and that's a pretty interesting bit of the story all its own. But you find clean water. Right
That's
off the bat,
it?
like there's clean water
Game
there
over.
immediately. You don't need. At no point are you finding a geck.
Good. I'm
because
glad
already
because we've done that like 3 times.
I don't need a new pump because the one in the vault has failed.
Exactly. Like you're set up.
So is there no radioactive water? Like
There's plenty of radioactive water, but
this isn't a community crisis.
It's
basically.
not. Yeah, exactly. Like
And you're not a vault dweller.
You are not a vault dweller.
Are there vaults?
There are vaults. Yeah,
Do you ever go in the vault?
absolutely.
All right.
Isn't the
Do they look the same as
Yes,
the vaults?
knowing the layout of how vaults are will benefit you in Fallout New Vegas
Because it's the same.
Yes.
All right.
Well, they're all vault tech, right?
They,
Sure.
like the
Assembly line,
they collapse in different ways, so they force you to go around certain things. Like, I know the overseer's office will be right here, but fuck.
Isn't this is maybe a little off topic, but isn't the big like NORAD or whatever thing in Nevada?
Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Is it? Do they ever reference
No, that's
that?
NORAD's in Colorado.
It's Colorado.
Oh, Colorado. Bummer. I thought there was a Nevada one. That's like some
I was like Groom Lake. I mean, there's like Area 51 and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But,
it's hole up in there. The president's still alive.
right.
John Connor.
So this game's a lot more about factions. They've introduced a new reputation system to the game, so you kind of earn and
a lot of
lose
rep to
favor with. Yeah, exactly. You've got a lot of rep to earn with these different factions. There are kind of 2 core factions that matter the most, and that's the New California Republic and Kaiser's Legion or Caesar's Legion, but. So his own people pronounce it Kaiser most of the time, but there's some spots where they clearly just fucked up recording dialogue and
like
his own
recording
men call it,
engineer
they
was
say
out.
Caesar. Like I think the split is supposed to be anyone who's part of it says Kaiser, but everyone who else just like no, it's fucking Caesar. Like what are you talking about? But then there are a few guys in his own legion that say. In my mind, they were just new guys.
You wrote your own narrative for that.
I win a no prize.
How does Matthew Perry say it?
I don't know.
Do you even know who his character was?
I figured it out at the end, but did not realize it over
Like
the
it
course.
didn't
of the
make an
entire game.
impact.
Yeah, none of the celebrity voices really stood out as like, oh, that's that person, except for Michael Dorn.
That strikes me as an excellent thing.
Really?
Yeah. I don't.
It's
I,
not
like,
breaking fiction.
I hate it when it's like, oh, it's that actor that I know. Then I just think of that actor whenever I look at that character. And
Unless it's Keith David.
I think
character.
that some of it'll end up being like your familiarity with how some of the voices sound.
Yeah.
Like the companion I had, this girl Veronica, that was my companion for most of the game. I was like, man, the voice acting is really good. And like I wonder, and it's like turns out it's just Felicia Day.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay,
okay,
if it's good, that's fine. Like that made me worry that the delivery was flat.
yeah, I'm just not really familiar with anything else that she does. So
Nice.
it might be this case where you listen and go like, that's totally Felicia Day, but I wouldn't know.
So the rep system, how does that work with the karma system? Is there
The karma system's still there, but I don't know why.
Oh.
I didn't really get a sense at any point during the game why it mattered, and in fact, it's implemented in kind of a weird. It comes up in some weird times because so there's a quest at some point in the game where I have to pick a lock at a casino to get into this back area because someone's going to be eaten,
Oh.
and I want to put a stop to that.
Okay.
But I lost karma for picking the lock.
Did it matter at all?
No, I don't think
Right.
so. No, it's karma
But you-
never. I imagine that maybe there'll be some companions that might. That's typically how it was. That some companions wouldn't partner up with you if your karma was bad. But it also rep factors into it. Like Veronica's
gonna
part of
say,
the
if
Brotherhood of
that's-
Steel, and if you're bad with them, she's like, hey.
Whenever you're trying to implement a system like that, like Fable 2 had similar issues.
Where like you're doing something
Where like
good, but
I'm
you're getting
defending
bad
this
points?
this
Right.
lady, but then because I murdered that dude, my alliance goes
so
down.
It's like it's kind of busted that way still.
Like they have like okay, like in absolute terms, picking locks is bad.
Right.
But in this context,
Greater
where
good.
where I need to pick this lock, it
Right.
doesn't recognize that it's
Yeah.
in service of something else.
Exactly. So it still does that, which is unfortunate. I lost a lot more karma than I gained. I mean, there was no absolute number or anything, but definitely like the number of pop-ups that said like, yo, man, what are you doing? Were way more than the couple of times where I got positive karma.
Brandishing,
Yeah,
Vegas is tough.
pulling out guns in the casino.
that's right. Got
Touching the girls.
walking around the
3,000
metal
miles to
detector,
Graceland.
got guns up in the club.
You cannot touch the girls, but the girls can touch.
So you can totally sneak guns into the casino. Like anytime you enter a casino, they take all your weapons. But if you're, I believe it's governed by your sneak skill. The higher it is, you're like, yeah, I'm just keeping all these pistols. How about that?
True or false? Fallout New Vegas is an expansion pack for Fallout 3.
No, well, I mean, like,
Does it feel that way
it
to
depends
you?
on how you look at it. I mean,
I'm not talking about like the breadth of the content or whatever, but I mean just like
tech-wise, absolutely, sure.
Yeah,
like if you strip away all the like the quality of the writing and kind of the art of it and just get down to the nuts and bolts, like, yeah, they bolted on like 3 new systems and shipped it. You know, it's not.
But I mean, content-wise, it is a full game.
Absolutely,
I didn't mean to imply it's
Yeah,
not,
no,
but-
it's. I mean, I spent 38 hours or more.
I mean,
with
it seems more like the Vice City to GTA 3.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
they took that engine and made a new game with it, but a lot of the systems are still the same. And you know what? You probably wouldn't want those to change that much.
Well,
Anyway,
like everything in
'cause-
Vice City looked new. Whereas, like, the little medkit boxes in New Vegas are straight out of
Oh, you're
Fallout
talking about
3.
it's just like kind of reusing of
tons
certain
of art assets brought
art
over and
assets,
stuff
yeah.
like
Well,
that.
it's like Awakenings or Dragon Age, where that was like.
Well, that is an actual
but it
expansion.
actually was an expansion.
Right, but in today, it's a weird thing in today's kind of game market where you have like DLC popping up all over the place. Where I mean, I forget how much that was. That was like $30 for Awakening or
Something
40.
like that,
30
yeah.
I think trying to level that as a criticism of like, oh, this would have just been an expansion. Like that's old thinking.
I don't-
Shit's changed.
I don't
since
mean
then.
it in a negative sense necessarily.
Sure.
It's just kind of a.
I mean,
It's a weird follow up in a way.
Like, you do mean it in the sense that I just finished playing Fallout 3. Am I gonna get burnt out on New Vegas?
I'm not done playing Fallout 3.
Yeah.
I don't know
Fuck,
what
no,
you
you're not.
heard.
Never.
Like,
ends.
you're not gonna get.
Never
I
ends.
hope that this ends up being kind of the last hurrah for this technology.
Yeah, totally.
That at this point they're like, okay, we're going to make Fallout 4, we're going to go make Elder Scrolls 5, and god damn it, it's going to be all new tech because what the fuck?
Well, I mean, hopefully, yeah, because at this point, if Obsidian's making this game, it's already been 2 years since Fallout
Right.
3. It's probably going to be at least another
Yes.
couple of years.
Yes.
Like 4 years to make a new game. Like, let's get a new platform
Right.
there.
Yeah.
But Elder Scrolls or Fallout?
What would I rather play?
Around
Or
the
what
table.
do you think that's coming?
I want to
coming
know,
out?
would you rather have a new
Is it a
Elder-
rather, or what do you think's
Like,
coming up?
yeah, I mean, they're only going to make one next game. You know, it's assuming it's either or and not something.
I bet
new.
the Fallout stuff sells so much better than the Elder Scrolls stuff. That's my guess. I don't know. haven't
I
seen
thought
any
Oblivion
numbers.
did pretty well.
Oblivion
sales
did
wise.
pretty well.
But I bet Fallout 3 sold. Otherwise, they probably would have shifted gears already, right?
I don't know.
I say Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I guess because we've had 2 Fallout games back to back. Elder
Yeah.
Scrolls.
Yeah, but
was-
what is the market now for fantasy RPGs?
I don't know. Why don't you ask Dragon Age?
Yeah, well, they're switching over to like their action RPG, right?
Right.
I feel like,
like that.
Bethesda kind of makes its own market in a way. Like their games are so huge and so unique that like there's a player base out there for anything they're going to make.
I bet if Dragon Age had done way better, they would immediately be like, "Oh, we need to get our PC Elder Scrolls 2 console kind of port on." And now that Dragon Age is going console, kind of like.
Wait a minute.
It's going linear.
Well, I'm saying like if the Dragon Age had done really well on, it sold more on consoles than on PCs, right?
I believe that's the case.
I bet they would have been like, let's focus on a PC Elder Scrolls and like we'll bring it to consoles. But I feel like since Dragon Age is going the other way, where they're like, well, we really have to cater to consoles. Let's make
No one's
no
going the we need to make this more PC-ish.
That's
Yeah.
but that's what they've been doing since Oblivion. There were all those complaints when Oblivion came out that the UI was too controller oriented.
Right. So I feel like they will go
They made that decision like 5 years ago.
more that direction, with Fallout and the way they're going now with it, and keep going
I don't
down
know.
that train.
It seems like they've struck a pretty healthy balance right now.
Between-
Like, what they've got now seems to be working really well on both sides.
I think, I don't know. I just personally did not like Oblivion as much, I think, as a lot of other people.
But keep in mind that game's now 5 years old.
Close
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Like, it was a lot jankier back then, and if they took
I
the
don't know,
things
sounds
that they'd Fallout New Vegas.
Probably there's some
too.
jank. It's just it's the combat. It's like basically the sword combat in that kind of game to me is just not fun. Like
Yeah,
whacking
melee
dudes.
combat, not really
Yeah,
great.
and like it's okay with Fallout because you're shooting dudes.
Well, VATS helped a lot.
And like, what would you do VATS for like a sword?
You can do VATS for melee and Fallout. I mean, it's,
That's kind of cool.
Maybe
It's
they
goofy.
do. Maybe
Yeah,
they roll
yeah.
VATS back into the next Elder Scrolls. I don't know.
Like
how weird would that be?
Some version of
crystals.
Yeah, I
or
don't
something.
know.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
wouldn't
know.
wouldn't be the same. No,
Like
just
that's
VATS.
such
You
a
know what? Just
specific
VATS.
Fallout thing from the Fallout universe. So like
You've got
pull that.
a Pit Boy.
I'd
Let's
play
go.
that game. I'd play that game if it was just like medieval Fallout.
Like I'll be really
Take
interested.
your character from New Vegas. You travel through time.
Got it. Check.
I'll be really interested to see how the new Dragon Age does, and if it's going more like the Gothic route, or if it's going to be more kind of RPG kind of. It's interesting. I don't know.
They're bringing it in here on Friday, so
Yeah.
we're about to find out.
I feel like that'll dictate whether like how that stuff does, what direction they go in. If I were them, I'd probably stick with the Fallout stuff.
This is just like I have no numbers to back this up, but I think sci-fi is just the sort of thing that probably appeals to a wider range of people than fantasy stuff.
Yeah,
to some extent. I mean, when fantasy hits, it hits big.
Yeah.
You know, your Lord of the Rings and whatever. But
Your Warcrafts.
yes, but sci-fi is like an easier sell in a commercial.
It's basically just guns versus swords. Like I think people really enjoy shooting stuff more than they like swords. Like I think that's the market we're in right now.
I think it's easier to pull off the sci-fi stuff, but yeah, when you do great fantasy, when you are like, trundling through the countryside with your sword and battle axing orcs and ogres and shit, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
Throwing spells at dudes and dungeon crawling and
So you vote Elder
guilds.
Scrolls?
Yeah, I could go for some Elder Scrolls.
Same here.
I mean, personally,
Especially-
I would like to see a new Elder Scrolls. I think they'll do Fallout.
I think especially since
and I would like to see more Morrowind, less Oblivion, like in the kind of what I would want from them.
now I don't even know what you're saying anymore. Now you're just you're not making sense anymore. Vinny, honey, are you feeling okay?
I just liked Morrowind.
Why?
Oh, it was great. I read all those books. Kind of went on Strider.
Books.
So at what point is the game part good?
Oh, it's like the combat in Oblivion was so...
Okay, but what makes Morrowind good?
I don't know. It was better. I can't remember.
Other than dissing Oblivion, I want to hear the positives of Morrowind.
You don't actually know.
Yeah, I also don't want to read someone's term paper on it.
I don't know. What made Oblivion better than Morrowind?
You could play it. It was less ugly. You didn't have to fucking walk everywhere. They streamlined systems so that it was not completely punishing all the time.
Yeah, but like every place I felt in Oblivion looked exactly the same. It was like template after template after template. Like every cavern you walked in was exactly the same as every other place you'd been. Every character encounter was exact. It was just repetitive. How many of those? What was the story like? How many of those things did you take in and shut
Oblivion
down?
gates?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't do any of the
There's
story
like
stuff.
two of those.
Like it was so.
I did all, but all of the side content was brilliant.
The only great side content I thought was the Dark Brotherhood. Like that was like the majority I felt of Morrowind was like engaging narrative stuff in it, and like the Dark Brotherhood was the only kind of engaging narrative in that.
The problem was the barrier for entry for Morrowind was much steeper.
It was also a different time. I mean,
Yeah, they've broadened the audience significantly
Yeah.
since then.
I mean, it's because Oblivion did so well that they were able to carry this stuff forward.
I can't really fault them for going that direction, but it's the times we live in. Dedicated servers for Morrowind.
All right, so Fallout New Vegas in stores now.
Yeah,
Review on the site.
Review up on the site.
that's right. You can read that business.
Quick look somewhere soon.
Wrote that thing.
Indeed.